Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the Liverbirds. We're delighted to be back so soon, albeit that the season is coming to a somewhat truncated halfway point. So joining me today, I've got my regular contributors, Randi and Amy-Kate, and we are going to get straight into it. So welcome, ladies, and let's start with our most recent game, the last league game of the first half of the season at home to Southampton. Delighted that we've got back to winning ways in the league as well. Let me start with you, Amy-Kate. Did you manage to see the game? I'm hoping it wasn't like another 4:30 in the morning kickoff, but you know, but obviously you have to make your best arrangements that you can.
Yeah, no, actually, well, hello everyone. We have 7 o'clock kickoff, so that wasn't too bad. And I did get to see the game, and we had a small group together to watch it, which was great. And yeah, it was exciting, and it was, I guess, because we've had a rough season. It's more exciting now that we're kind of back in that winning ways. I'm really, really pleased with the way they played yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was a bit of a game of two halves. Randy, did you manage to see the game at all?
Hiya. Yeah, well, it was very exciting way of watching a match actually, because first I started out at the train station, so I saw 15 minutes in a pub there. Then I put my headphones on and started the radio from LFC TV whilst entering the train. And then I got into the TV station and actually watched part of it on the train. Then I stopped to do some shopping, walking around with the match in my hand. So that was it. You know, I was watching and listening on all fronts, so to say, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Kated.
I love it.
I really enjoy that match because, as you said, Amy-Kate, it was a bit like back to our old selves again. Especially first half was very good. I thought, you know, you could recognise us with the high defensive line, with lots of stuff going on in midfield, and Elliot was very, very good, wasn't he?
He was. He absolutely was. I think that particularly his chipped ball in for Nunes for the was that the second or the third goal? I'm blue. I think it was the second actually, but you know what? It's so long since we scored 3 goals in a half.
Yeah.
In the league game, and I think I've got slightly confused. The bit I suppose I was slightly disconcerted with was literally their first proper attack. That it was pretty much an unmarked header into our goal, which was a little bit worrying, to be honest. And you know, with Southampton, you come to expect that they're going to have great delivery from James Ward-Prowse or and God, the guy's name's gone straight out of my head. The other anyway, but it felt like we, you know, over the last few years, I've got used to us being able to properly defend balls into the box, and it just felt like, I don't know, we just kind of didn't. And I'm not saying it wasn't a good ball. Right? I'm not saying it wasn't a good ball into the box, but it just felt like it was so easy for them. In terms of their first attack. I mean, I don't know what you thought, Amy Kate, but that was I was a bit kind of, oh.
I was like, kind of, had to like just pick my mouth up off the floor, because I was just because it's something we would have done, right? And it wasn't us. And so part of me was like, well done, give credit where credit's due. And then I was like, oh, here we go again. And then, that was it for them. But I mean, there was no mark. It was beautiful. And I was, oh, here we go again. I was a little, it made me a little nervous, and it kind of made my heart sink a little bit, because I was like, oh, this is, if this is the way they're going to play, we're going to have some problems. But it was just a really great, great goal on their part, and then we got back into it. So
no, maybe that's it. Maybe we just say, do you know what? It was just a great ball. But I still think our marking could have been better on Shay Adams, frankly.
Oh, absolutely. No argument there. It was just, and we do make mistakes. We are human. So, but I'm guessing they realized that, because it didn't happen again, and earlier in the season that would have. So it's good to see.
Well, they'd had a sighter, hadn't they, in the first sort of minute or so. And Randi, I'm not sure the period of time that you actually managed to see it on the TV, but certainly, Adams had a misdirected header really early in like the first minute and a half. It was like a decent ball in, and he sort of glanced it the wrong way. And then obviously Alisson pulled off 2-3 fantastic saves in the second half. Another one from an Adams header, a sort of one-handed sort of push away. So it wasn't that they didn't create further chances. We just have, one of the best keepers in the world between our sticks, which I'm obviously delighted about.
But it was so confusing though, because he looked so different. He'd taken his beard.
Somebody was going to mention it.
I already had that too. I was like, oh.
And he also had a new sort of kit on, a new color or something I haven't seen. So it was one of the guys I'm always chatting with whilst we watch a match that said, oh, who's this new keeper then? And I hadn't really looked at him until then. And I was like, what? Do we have a new keeper now then? That's weird. So it took a lot of, we made a lot of fun out of that. So in the end, he was just the good old Alisson saving absolutely everything. Well, almost then. I thought he was so brilliant.
Can we talk about how handsome he is? Who knew under all that hair? That's all
with or without.
But wow.
So we're not going to talk about how handsome he is. That's cliche. What I will say though is that two of my friends that I go to the game with, they were the ones who mentioned to me. So two of my male friends who mentioned to me and said, I can't believe, Alisson's shaped like what's happened to the beard and whatever. And I said, well, I hadn't really noticed, and I genuinely hadn't, right? So
really,
he pretty much had his back to us for most of, because I'm in the and I wasn't looking that closely. Now, to be fair, my eyesight isn't the best, and I wear glasses, but I wasn't really. It didn't register with me, right, that he'd got rid of the beard and everything. And then he just looked so different. It was just, and I thought, wow, this is a strange conversation to be having about shave off his beard. And I sort of said, because I hadn't been paying any attention, I said, well, did he keep the mustache and just get rid of the beard, or because I didn't know? He went, no, it's all gone. And I said,
it's all gone.
I said, oh, do you think it's a thing for in anticipation of the World Cup? Has he kind of, is this about, go, I don't know. And they were going,
maybe.
It could be, actually.
The World Cup. I just made it up. I have no idea why I did it. Maybe just fancied a change. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, it was an actual talking point within.
We all talked about it too. It was kind of funny. And then it's like,
Yeah.
we're actually talking about his beard, but yet we can't stop talking about his beard. So, or lack thereof. But no, he looks like a different person. And I think I've had this conversation with a few different people, and I did see a couple of jokes. Who's the new keeper? Exactly, you said.
Yeah.
So it was. He's one of those people that looks completely different, and and it was getting quite bushy. And I remember noticing it a couple games ago, because I didn't get to watch the Derby game. I couldn't get it on television.
Yeah.
So the game before that, I just thought, God, it's getting kind of bushy, and then it's gone. I was all, oh, he left a listen. No. Anyway,
so no beard, he was still saving pretty much the thing that came at him, which is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Very recognizable in the way he played.
Yes, absolutely.
Recognizable in the way that he. But can we also just have a little chat about young Darwin Núñez?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
And I just, I think we are, not that we ever thought there's been some really weird narrative going on around him. And I think partly because of how Haaland has come in.
Yeah.
Been banging at him left, right and centre. But, he has been scoring goals since he got here. And, another two lovely finishes, can we say, yesterday as well.
Yes.
With two great assists. We talked about Harvey Elliott, but also great to see Robbo back on the assist trail.
Yes, indeed. And he had two as well. And apparently he's got a record now in Premier League for a defender.
Yes, he does. And I think he's not far. He's only a few behind somebody like, I don't know, Gary Neville or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, but delighted to see him on the score sheet. I'm still so let me ask the question, right? I don't know if I'm going to be surprised at the answer or not. Randi, did you, on the way that it was either described or what you saw, did you believe that we should have had a penalty for the foul on Mo Salah?
Absolutely.
Amy Kate, did you believe or see that game, and did you think that was a penalty of the foul on Mo Salah?
Yeah, I was surprised. Let me rephrase that. I was surprised we didn't get it, and then again, not surprised. So, yeah.
Because it's Mo Salah.
Right.
Therefore, you need to basically decapitate him before the referee will give him a penalty. I was genuinely gobsmacked, and even when I saw it in real time, one time only, and I was convinced it was a penalty because of the way the guy had his hand on his arm. He didn't get the ball. He was holding him back, but apparently because Mo tried and sort of managed to get a poke on the ball, that wasn't a penalty.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with, because when I saw the highlights on I don't know, it's Match of the Day or something else, and they barely mentioned it. They kind of did replay and went, yeah, well, he hasn't really got hold of all of his shirt or something. And I thought,
it's ridiculous. I mean, he wasn't just holding him; he was pulling him back.
Pulling him down.
Because when you see it the reverse way, you see actually sort of drags him back, and that is not, as far as I know, allowed.
It isn't. It's a foul. And it's if it's anywhere else on the pitch, you would give a foul.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think there is some sort of, well, not even subtle, but there is a definite thing on referees about the lack of penalties and fouls that are given against Salah, given for Salah against other players, in comparison to because he gets assaulted at least once a game.
Right.
I find it incredibly, and I think there's a little bit something slightly distasteful underneath it. But anyway, luckily it didn't impact the outcome of the game. But I find myself getting more and more wound up about it actually, because they're so
especially when you have like pens. Did you see the one that De Bruyne got last weekend? It was like nobody was touching him. And that's a pen. And then what's wrong with this? It's so weird.
Yeah. Anyway, so the thing was that I felt like after the first half that there would be more goals in the second half. I was thinking, we could get a few more, do something, and it felt to me in a weird way that the second half was a bit of a damp squib. It became a bit of a nothing match. Now, you might want to argue that, well, we were broadly in control and, we had some chances, but we didn't convert them. By the same token, Southampton had some chances, and we talked about, Alisson putting off 2 or 3 really good saves in the second half. It just, I don't know, it felt like the second half just sort of didn't really go anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't as exciting for sure.
No, and I, don't get me wrong, I wasn't wanting like Southampton to score any more goals, but I just felt like a slightly missed opportunity, maybe. Yeah. Having said that, we did what we needed to do in the first half. We got the 3 points. The other thing, and I just sort of mentioned it in passing because of the sort of way the time works. So obviously, Man City were the early kickoff. On Saturday, and we were in a pub having a drink before we were going down to the ground, and it was it was second half and it was 1-1, and I was saying to one of my friends, Paul, I was just sort of saying to him, well, we all know what's going to happen. Man City are going to get a goal in the 96th minute or what have you. Anyway, off we went. Went down to the ground, got in, thought no more about it. It wasn't until I think it was half time, and I was talking to one of the women who sits near me, and I said to her, did Man City like win the game then against Brentford? And she went, no, they lost. I went, really? And she said, yeah, Brentford scored in like the 98th minute. And that was the first time I knew about it. Because I was so convinced, because that is just what Man City do. I was so convinced they would just find a way to get a winner in the like I say, the 95th, 98th, whatever minute, and so that perked me up no end as well. And then as we were sort of, the game was over, and we were sort of applauding the team or whatever, and George comes on over the tannoy and gives the results, and obviously finishes off with Bournemouth 3, Everton,
that's nice.
which was just a lovely way to kind of bookend the day, really. And apparently there's been a load of stuff over social media around like a load of the Everton fans like losing their shit at the end of the game and like shouting at the players and what have you. And apparently, I don't know exactly what happened. So one of my friends said apparently Iwobi threw his shirt into the crowd, and they threw it back at him.
I heard that. I did not see that, but I heard that.
I don't know if that's just been made up or something, if it's just become a bit of an apocryphal story, but it just really made me giggle. But anyway, so I think it was it was good to get back to winning ways, good to get another 3 points in the Premier League. But obviously we've had a few games in quite sort of short succession. So we're going to sort of go back in chronological or sort of chronological order, because and Amy Kay, I appreciate that you didn't manage to see the game because it wasn't on a channel that you could get hold of. But we obviously had the League Cup
Right.
tie against Derby on.
I saw the highlights, and I did get to see, because social media loves to put different pieces. So I got to see the penalty shootout and Kelleher's amazing keeper skills. So definitely he's a keeper. So yeah, I did get to see that. So even though I didn't get to see the game, I did get to see the best bits.
Yeah. And it was one of those that it felt like the longer it went on, there was an inevitability about this was going to go.
Yeah.
It was either going to be Derby were going to score like a 92nd minute winner, or it was going to go to a penalty shootout. It didn't feel like there were going to be any other outcomes. And Randy, I presume you were sort of somewhat in the same position, because it wasn't on. Well, I don't know. It might have been on Sky or something. It was on.
Well, I could see it.
You could see it. Okay.
Yes, of course. Sometimes I can see things in Norway that you can't see in England, which is absolutely weird, but I don't know why. So
Yeah,
I saw it, and I just felt like you said, this was one of those matches. First of all, I thought, who is this playing? It was almost a complete new crew, for us. But it was, so you knew it was going to be weird and strange and maybe a bit funny, and but really, really nice to see so many young guys, of course. I
heard really good things fed back to me from a couple of people who went to the game about is it Doak or Doak?
Yeah, Ben Doak. He's Scottish, and he was absolutely amazing. He was still 16.
Yeah.
So he's just madness. He looked like, a very, very young Salah in a way. So it's so nice to see, and he's such a confident young man, going straight for it, dribbling like he's done nothing else, and putting the ball back into the pen area, and it was just really, really good. So that was nice.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
But then Quiveen turns up and just does his thing again.
Oh God, what a man! I mean, we got the best. The best goalkeeper in the world, and the next, because we got the two best. He is just amazing, and saving. Is his fourth pen shootout now?
Yes.
That's also like kind of a record, apparently. I mean, it's madness the way he does that. I think actually he's better than Ali's on the line. But what we should talk about is the Derby keeper, because he was one of a bit like, do you remember our goalie from Istanbul, the crazy one on the line, doing all sorts of mad movements.
Oh, Jersey Dudek.
Yeah, that's right. But not just doing that, every time he stepped 2 steps ahead of the line before the shot. So he should have been stopped much earlier. What they did was just having a little chat with him. I mean, that is not allowed, is it?
No.
To step out 2 steps out before anyone has shot. He was mad. I do understand why so many of ours didn't hit the goal, because he was making it absolutely impossible. So I was so proud of Elliot and what was the other one? Bobby didn't manage, and Bajetic didn't manage, but Ox and Nunes and Elliot. But that was really, really difficult.
Oh, the other one was Oxlade Chamberlain.
Yeah, Ox was good as well.
Yeah, it was good to see him back too. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut in, but it was good to see him back out.
Yeah.
See him back from injury. He's had a terrible time, and You know, he's unfortunately, you know, I do think ultimately his time with us has come to an end. But you know, hopefully, he'll be able to be a decent contributor to us for at least the rest of this season, and stay fit. So no, it was good to see him back. And like I said, I've sort of, you know, I've read the reports. I've seen a few, you know, a few little bits and bobs. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see a massive amount of that, but I'm, you know, delighted for us to go through. And then what happens? We draw fucking Man City
Yeah.
in the next round. I mean, if you know, I know that there are conspiracy theorists out there. At times, I have a bit of sympathy for them.
Yeah.
Seriously, somebody is taking the piss out of us, and it's our first game back after the World Cup finishes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
and also the draw in the Champions League doesn't help either, does it? I mean, it's like, okay, let's give it all to us straight away.
yeah, well, we'll come on to that, but the only thing I think that sort of occurred to me was that Man City have got double the amount of players we've got called up to the World Cup. So, a few judicious injuries, you know, nothing career-ending, but, you know, a few things that keep people out, for, you know, for a few weeks, you know, maybe till the end of January or something when they come back from the World Cup. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, they might just be really tired too, because if they go through, if England goes as far as, well, actually it doesn't really matter because there's a lot of players that they have outside that. If their players, a lot of their players are, you know, active, then it's also gonna be to our advantage.
It is. I mean, I would, in that respect, you potentially want Belgium to go reasonably far in the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, not Brazil and not France and not, you know, I don't know.
Not Brazil and not
Or
France.
Netherlands.
Or the Netherlands, yeah, or England. Well, so the thing is, I don't care, right? I don't want England to win it, obviously, but I don't care if they go reasonably far. The issue I've got is that they're not going to play Alexander-Arnold, so he's just going to go there and sit on the bench for like a month and then come home. So he's not really going to get a rest. That's why. So I was really pissed off when I found out that Southgate had picked him, because frankly he doesn't know what to do with him, and they never so they shouldn't get nice things because they don't know how to look after them, because the likelihood is if he does play he'll get injured. That's just what happens.
Yeah, exactly, and that's so annoying. He should have been with the Klopp and the boys doing some relaxing and training.
Exactly. So although I obviously have missed this somewhere along the way, but apparently we're going to Dubai or something for some warm weather training, and we're going to play AC Milan.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's the first. I'm just hearing this now. I did not realize that.
Well, that's what I've been told. So now, you know, it's possible that not everything in what I've been told is correct, but it's a fairly reliable source. So that's what I understand is going to happen sometime during the period when the World Cup is on. So, you know, we'll see what happens. And I get that.
That actually sounds pretty legit though, because they do go to Dubai. They do go in the warmer weather. Because it is, you know, winter here. So it would make sense for them to go to Dubai where they can do all of that stuff. So, and they're not too far away from, you know, they'll be in the Middle East. So any players that get released can go straight there and continue.
Yeah,
so it actually makes sense that they're doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
So we got Man City first game back after the World Cup. Obviously it's a little bit further away, as in February, but you know, lucky old us, we drew Real Madrid in the last 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah.
So, Randi, would you like to go first with your thoughts on the Champions League draw?
Well, I was a bit. Again, you would all go for what about what's wrong with Porto again, but it is a bit boring, isn't it? So I thought maybe wait a bit with Real. On the other side, on the other hand, it might be good to it is just one of those, and it's 2 games. Because the trouble with meeting them in the final that we've done twice in 3-4 years, it's better, I think, over two games. So depending on who's playing for us at the time, who's injured, who's not, maybe we got some new guys in. So maybe it is a good idea, actually. Maybe it's good.
I think I think it would be slightly better if we had the second leg at home, but we don't, because obviously
that's true.
Finished second in the group. But that with notwithstanding, Amy Kate, your views?
I agree with Randi. I don't like it. I just don't like playing them. I'm not a big fan of Real, the way they play, and usually they've got dirty players, and it just, yeah. But if we do have 2 games to play over, if we can get through, we don't have to play them again. So they're done, so if we can just get past that, it actually is a good thing. So yeah. I'm I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating, but it is what it is, and let's just do our best. And I actually have confidence. I think that we could get through this.
Yeah, I don't fear anybody for Liverpool in the Champions League. I just would have preferred not to have drawn Real Madrid. But, having said that, I think I know it's a different team, but if we, if we can beat Barcelona over 2 legs after going 3-0 down in the first one, reason we can't do Real Madrid over 2 legs.
Agreed.
Ancelotti is a wily old fox.
How do you really feel?
What they don't have anymore is they don't have Casemiro, who probably I would argue was probably their best player, or one of their best players in the final last season. So yes, I know he's gone to Man United, but at least we don't have to deal with him against Real Madrid. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because the likelihood is that Spain, as Germany will and the Bundesliga will, they will have a further rest after the World Cup, and this is the thing that's potentially going to be an issue for us. So Bundesliga, once the World Cup's finished, they basically shut down. They might, I'm not sure exactly when, but in effect, their league games don't start until something like the 20th of January. So, and I think La Liga is doing something not dissimilar. So their players will get the opportunity for a rest when they come back from the World Cup. And, lo and behold, the Premier League, we're back in action. Not, forget about the League Cup where we're playing like the 20th or the 21st of December. We're back on Premier League duty on Boxing Day on the 26th of December. So there's no rest. Anyway, it is what it is. So that's the only thing that sort of worries me about it. I think we it's such a truncated season for us. They're bunging so much in that second half of the season that I just worry about our physical fitness. To your point around, who we've got available, how many people we might have injured. I think January transfer window is going to become ever more important for us, to be honest, at this rate. But yeah, you know what? If you want to, at the end of the day, you want to win the Champions League, you have to beat everybody. So if we're going to win the Champions League, we just need to get past Real Madrid and then worry about who we draw next.
Yep, exactly. Well, the one thing that I wondered, and there might be a reason in my ignorance to this. So when COVID happened, they obviously had to stop 12 weeks, go through all the stuff. We didn't know what was going to happen, but it pushed everything out, and we had to start the season late, and everything was cramped. But we don't have, the Euros just happened, the World Cup is early, so there's no reason why they couldn't, knowing that they were pushing the World Cup, because of where it's at and all of that. Don't get me started, but they're cramming it. Why do they have to keep with it being in the end of May? Why can't they push it out a little bit? Yes, okay, they don't get the same rest, but there's no reason they could have made the season a little bit long, extended it out a little bit longer, instead of doing what they did. That's where I don't understand, and maybe that's just beyond me, and I just don't. But there was no need to cram everything in, especially then we didn't expect the Queen to die, so there's still a game in hand for us and a few others. Plus, there's another game, because we only hit 14 games, not 15 games. So this period as well. So there's still a game that has to be made up.
Yep, there is. And they still have. I think that was the Wolves game.
Yeah, it was. I forgot, but yes, it was.
And I have been on my LFC account, that's currently scheduled because this message came up, and I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I sort of messaged the club, and they basically said, well, yes, you because I couldn't go for whenever it was, and then the Queen died, so I had put that ticket on Ticket Exchange, I think. Anyway, whatever. And then it came up and sort of said, oh, well, you've done this with the 31st of May 2023. And I thought, we don't have a game on the 31st of May 2023. And I messaged the club, and they went, oh, yes, no, well, so provisionally, they might fit it in somewhere else, but that ultimately could end up being our last home game, despite the fact that technically our last home game, I think, is home against Villa or something on like the 20 whatever, is it 19th of May or something. So I think at this point, and depending on if we get knocked out of a different competition, so like if we don't get past Real Madrid, for example, then in theory there's a free midweek that they might be able to reschedule it for. But at the moment, it's provisionally put in for the 31st of May next year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What's on the 31st of May?
Our rescheduled game against Wolves.
Really?
So maybe they've just stuck it at that date because it hasn't been properly rescheduled yet. But that would be a distinct possibility, bearing in mind that the Champions League final isn't until June the 10th.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's weird, because it usually is around my birthday, which is the 31st of May.
Yes.
So
it's
10th?
late.
Oh.
10th of June. Because and if we do get to Istanbul, I can't go because my friend's getting married.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So anyway, that's I won't worry about that now. If we get to Istanbul, that then fantastic. That will be, even though I can't be there, I'll still be delighted for us to have got to another Champions League final. So anyway, not to worry. But yeah, so I don't know when that Wolves game is going to be at all at the moment, and and that's assuming nothing else goes wrong between then. So anyway, so Real Madrid obviously in the Champions League, we've got Man City in the League Cup, and then once we come back, then we'll obviously get the FA Cup. So we'll the third round of the FA Cup. So we'll see where we get that. But of course, in between all of that, and I think we can all say we were fairly shocked. We also lost our home record under Virgil. where he'd never been on the losing side in a Premier League game at Anfield.
Yeah.
Of all teams. Now,
And against that team, not nice.
yeah, I know, Randy. I feel for you. Okay, I really feel for you.
Yeah.
Your ex-husband's team. I wish I could change it, but I can't. Are there any like silver linings at all out of that? Anybody got anything for me?
No.
No, I was thinking, well, pressure's off now. Record's off. Don't have to worry about it. Not that I was worried about it, but
No.
it's not something that people keep going on about anymore. But do you know what? The weird thing is that I thought if the record was good, and I know it's not the Premier League, but I thought if Virgil was going to lose at home, it would probably be against Napoli in the Champions
Exactly.
League.
It should have been more than Leeds,
I mean, give credit where credit's due, but and
But
I
isn't
know
this
too.
our
Go
season
ahead.
so far? I mean, it looks like our season so far. You beat
Yeah.
the team that nobody else has been able to beat in Europe. You beat them, but then you
Yeah.
go and lose for like a lower table league in England. It's been our season so far. So let's turn it around now then. Let's do something else after the break, shall we?
Yeah,
Right?
that would be
Well,
nice. Because
Leeds is an interesting.
go on.
Leeds is an interesting team in the sense of, like, they, for some reason, if you look at them, they can't play the lower league teams. That's why they're so far down. But yet they play us, or a big team, and they get these big results. They're just one of those teams that, and apparently this year, that's our little bogey team is Leeds. And unfortunately, that day when we were watching it, there was the one Leeds supporter of all of San Diego County shows up, and he was so obnoxious. It was so distracting. I'm so obnoxious. And then the weird part about it was he for whatever, and he's English, he hates the fact that, I don't know if it's the fact that it's an American coach or this particular coach. So first he's trying to wind me up, and I'm like, not happening. I'm not going to go there because I really didn't think we were going to lose in the first place. Then they scored, and he's acting like I'm the big I am and this whole thing, and I was like, game's not over. Then we score back, and he's totally changed his tune, and he's like, yeah, well, saw that coming, and we're not going to win, and so he goes down this whole sourpuss thing, and how I want us to lose because then they'll fire the coach. The coach needs to go. This whole time he's like bitching about the coach needs to go, and he doesn't want to win. And I'm like, what kind of player, a supporter are you? And then of course in the end he's dancing around,
Yeah.
we beat you. It's just like,
What a sad character.
He is so obnoxious that, like, I left more pissed off, not because we lost. It was that guy just got to me. I was just like, and then I thought about it, and I was like, he showed up last season when Leeds, because I was like, why is this familiar? Of course we won last time, but oh God, I just want to ban him. Not that I have any right to, but he's one of those people that just gets under my skin, and I just want to smack him. Oh
Yeah.
okay, rant over.
That's fine. They do seem to have an abnormally high level of obnoxious fans. And to be fair, my nephew is also a Leeds United fan, and he's lovely. And he hasn't said a word to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Circumstances, we'd sort of chat, and he hasn't said a word. And he's very sweet that way. We don't kind of take
Rub it in.
There might be a little bit of banter, but generally we're very respectful of each other when it comes to the thing. And to be fair to him, he generally never expects Leeds to win against Liverpool. So I think maybe he's still in shock. I don't know.
Well, You know what? Every team has obnoxious fans, and every team has lovely fans, because they did show up with a wreath, and they did do some respect. And I actually have a mate who's he's Scottish, but he's a Leeds fan, and we had a little banter back and forth, but he was actually really, really great. And bless his heart, he was in Scotland for his niece's wedding, and he ran into or met up with a friend of mine who's actually a Chelsea fan. And when I was there in May, I had bought some stuff, and it was too heavy to carry. He goes, "We'll send it back." So they just didn't get around to it. So I had a really good Chelsea fan and a Leeds fan both bring back Liverpool stuff for me. It went from Liverpool to Cardiff to Scotland to Leeds, and then California went to Ventura to me. So it made its rounds, and bless them, they knowing it was Liverpool stuff, they still sent it to me. So they're not all bad fans.
No.
So shout out to my boys. Thank you.
That's lovely. That's really, really sweet. But we've had that kind of performance in us this season for whatever reason. We've talked about the lack of a break, and just being completely rinsed after sort of going through every single possible game last season, one thing or another. So I'm that's partly why, well, mainly why I didn't want Trent in the England squad, but we are where we are. Of the ones that we have picked, that have been picked though, so we've got Alisson and Fabinho going away with Brazil, the Seleção. We've got Trent and Henderson, neither of who I think will play very much, but whatever, they're with England. Then we've got Konate, who's going away with France, Van Dijk with the Netherlands, and then we've got Darwin, who's going with Uruguay. So, of those teams then, so Brazil, France, Netherlands, Uruguay, England, have I missed anybody? No, I think that's...
No.
So
No, she said
Brazil
Brazil first.
Yeah.
First, yeah.
Brazil, Netherlands, France, Uruguay, or England. Just as a bit of fun, who do we think is going to go furthest in the World Cup? Randi.
I think maybe France or Netherlands. I'm not sure about Uruguay, unless of course Nunez scores every match. That would be nice for him. But France and Netherlands, I think, is going to be interesting. You can never rule out Brazil, though, can you? It's just that they seem to be very weird. It's like they're a bit of moody, and they're a bit, you never know about them, do you?
No, I don't think they're not as kind of well. So I don't think they're like favourites for this World Cup. But they have so much talent in the country. You can't necessarily rule them out. I think France is a decent shout. I mean, they've got some hugely talented players in their squad. And I
was really happy for Konate though. It was so nice for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd probably go along with you on France, or I think might go the furthest. So that would probably be my shout. Amy Kate, who of the teams our players have been selected from, who do you think will go furthest?
Well, so my guy's trying to wind me up with England, so I don't want to have to deal with the banter. So I don't want them to go very far, and I want our boys to come home. So they're out. My roommate is French, so I just cannot deal with that because he doesn't care about football. And then he's one of those obnoxious, fans that comes out only during a World Cup, and rubs it in. So I just want them to go away. So I'm more of who I don't want to. But like I guess I don't know who will, but who I'd like to see, because they haven't, and they have so much talent, and they're always like a runner-up or they just never quite get there. So I'd like to see the Netherlands go, because there's no way the U.S. is going to get that far. I mean, I hope we do well. Don't get me wrong. I want to see us. I'd like us to get out of the group stage, and I would love to see us beat England just because.
Yeah.
You know, just
because.
to rub it in a little bit, just because. I think we will. You know, fingers crossed. Not to, because we've got Iran, UK, or England. It's not the UK, and Wales, and I think Wales is the one that we need to keep a watch for.
Yeah.
But
they're a bit of a dark horse, I think.
I think they're the dark horse, but I think I'm going to go with Netherlands just because I'm just going to go with Netherlands.
Oh, that's fair enough. And I, like I said, you know, I'm not saying I want France to win it. But I did of those teams. I think I would like Brazil to. So you know, the sort of the very small romantic part of me, and it is tiny. There's
it's tiny.
something about Brazil winning a World Cup that just feels right in a way. Now, I don't, you know, with all of the sort of political instability and stuff that's gone in with Brazil and Bolsonaro and what have you, you know, I don't want, you know, I wouldn't want them to win it with him thinking because the Brazil shirt has become something of a hardened kind of political football over there now. Sort of Bolsonaro and his supporters have tried to kind of hijack the shirt, so I don't want it to reflect on that, but there's something about that I think it feels sort of right in a way. Anyway, but having said that, I don't want Alisson and Fabinho there right until the end. So,
no, exactly.
If anybody's there to the end, so you know, let's go along with the Netherlands then. Why not? I think France have got a good shout, but
They do.
The Netherlands are always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So why not?
And Kim will be very excited, even though she didn't get to go on this one this time. But you know, we had her on before, and she's from the Netherlands, so cheering for my girl.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll try and get her on the next one, you know, as the season restarts and after the World Cup, and then we can do a little bit of reflecting. So, seeing we are talking about the World Cup, shall we talk about Sepp Blatter? And his
what a character, eh?
What a character. So. And bearing in mind, you know, Sepp Blatter is the most self-serving individual you'll probably ever hope to find, maybe other than Gianni Infantino. But, you know, he decides, you know, part of an interview to say, you know, it was a mistake for Qatar to be awarded the World Cup, and they're too small and it should never have been played there. But, you know, the decision by the executive committee. Now, we all know, you know, the shenanigans that went on for want of a better expression. But, you know, what do we think of Sepp's comments, Amy Kate?
It's a bit of a joke, isn't it? Because like this whole time for that was being considered and then was considered, and then everything that happens, he steps down because everybody's calling out corruption. I mean, it's almost like he's taking the piss. I'm just, and again, I'm not surprised.
There is a bit of that, you know, there's a bit of when I heard the clip from this interview he gave where he sort of said, well, you know, it was a mistake and it should never have gone to Qatar. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You know, what was your first clue? And bearing in mind, he was saying that because his dream, you know how he goes on, because it's all about him. His dream was that it went to Russia and then it went to the USA in 2022. That was his thing. So it was like, you know, for him, the perfect juxtaposition. And he pretty much, I'd say guaranteed, but promised, you know, the American, well, not is it CONCACAF or anyway, whichever one.
CONCACAF.
That basically, that, you know, they were getting the votes and the 2022 World Cup thing. So the reason I think part of the reason he said it was a mistake is because basically he had egg on his face because he'd promised something he could then no longer deliver. I'm not sure
Mm.
I don't know how much he really believes, because he's taken no personal responsibility for any of this, obviously, because that's Sepp Blatter. He's sort of gone back, well, no, it's nothing to do with me. I don't take any blame for it. But it was a mistake by the FIFA Executive Committee, of which he was the president and sat on and had a vote, but it was nothing to do with him. So, Randy, what's your view? What's your take on this?
I think it's absolutely unbelievable how he now certainly portrays himself as some sort of a whistleblower, whilst not saying anything against the corruption that he's been leading for 17 years.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Before that, all of a sudden now, because all the talk is about human rights and corruption, he's the good guy in a way. So it's like you said, it's all about him now, or whitewashing himself and all the rest of it, and blaming others, whilst he was actually in charge. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And all the documentaries roaming around now about all what's behind the scenes and whatnot. So it is a shit show, isn't it? I mean, it's very embarrassing, really, everything about it, I think. So it's weird. I can't really be into the football because it's so much stuff in the way. But at the same time, it's always been about money. It's always been about the big totalitarian states having all these big tournaments, Russia and China, and they're not good guys either, So
No,
it's just.
Not. I mean, I didn't think it should have gone to Russia in 2018 either. I thought it was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
But again, you're right, it comes back to money and the confederations and, this line that FIFA also used to roll out about, expanding the football family.
Yeah, sure.
Their code for fucking backhanders and paying off certain people or expanding their development funds in inverted commas to guarantee votes from member countries within certain federations. So anyway, I mean, this is the first World Cup I can say honestly that I will probably watch the least of.
Me too.
It's not that I didn't watch games in Russia. I did, but and Russia is a pariah state. But it didn't feel like it was quite as bad as it is now.
No, exactly. I think we're used to it more, used to China and Russia and all the rest of it. But did you see that thing about Qatar had to have a women's team to be able to say that they are actually into football? So they started the women's team, and apparently they played a couple of matches before they got the World Cup. And then since, it's like, so what happened to them now then?
Well, they banned them.
Nobody's seen them.
No, it was just a
show off.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just
embarrassing.
PR.
Yeah.
You've got all the stuff around, human rights, the migrant workers, well, actually indentured slavery going on in their country with, people not getting paid, having their passports taken away, being put into debt, being worked like slaves. The whole thing around, it's illegal to be gay. or bisexual, trans, whatever it might be. It's an absolute disgrace. And they don't even have a professional league. That's
No.
everything you
That
said.
should be a requirement.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sure they have it on the paper, but like the women team is on the paper.
Yeah, and all of the games are in Doha, right? So it's not, because there's one of the few things I agree with Sepp Blatter on. It's too small. They haven't built the stadia anywhere else. It's all in Doha, so you're like a captive audience in there. And I mean, for my mind, I hope just because the whole stink around it, I hope it is the least watched, the least streamed, and the least attended World Cup ever. Because that's
Agreed.
what it does, in my view. And that's not to reflect upon the teams going there. They have no say. The actual players who play for the national team, they have no say in where games go to, right? And where the World Cup goes to. They just have to turn up and play. But I do think, there are teams out there that want to make a statement, and obviously FIFA's not allowing them to. So the Danish team, for example, because it's Hummel, isn't it? Is their brand?
They got the blacked out.
They had blacked out shirts, which FIFA have refused to let them wear.
Yeah.
Because they had ones that had sort of like messages in like really, really subtle thing. They couldn't say that. So I don't know if they're going to be allowed to wear the blacked out ones. And there's other, there's other brand, the Gareth Southgate sort of said, they're going to wear like the One Love armbands or what have you, and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's all much of a muchness, really. But I hope it is. It won't be a financial disaster for Qatar because they're rolling in money, but it might be a financial disaster for some of the sponsors. And that's the only way you can really hurt FIFA, is if you hurt their sponsors, and if they get a like a bad reflection on their brand for being, all over the World Cup in Qatar. Because if you've got brands like, I don't know if it's Coca-Cola or what have you, Coca-Cola, and I'm just using that because it came off the top of my head, they project themselves as inclusive and this, that, and the other. But they are promoting their product in a country that has, like basically zero human rights. So, I'm sure it's not the first time. And like I said, I'm just picking on Coca-Cola because it jumped in my head. But, whether it's, I don't know, Ford, whether it's Heineken, whether it's, I'm thinking of Champions League brands, to be honest. Is it plus the World Cup? I don't know. Anyway, whoever it is, the only way you hurt them and try and make this better is if you hurt the brands themselves, and the sponsors then put pressure on FIFA in terms of their processes. But
Yeah, but you're completely right. Is all it takes is for somebody to feel the money loss some way or another. But can I just say, have you registered on Twitter that they are sending out all these fan videos of fans apparently now pouring into Qatar from all the different countries? Have you seen that? Because that is absolutely so funny. Because of course it's not fans; it's all the migrant workers in Qatar that's been dressed up in completely new, completely similar shirts from each country. And they have music and they are dancing around, filming it. They're so happy and cheerful. And you have to have a look at the British one, because apparently all the English fans are Indians. They're from India. It's so funny.
My God.
You wouldn't believe it. It's so funny. And this Danish guy that started to post it, and it was a long thread on Twitter. And he said, I haven't seen the Danish one yet. I really wonder what they look like, It's so funny, and it's actually very embarrassing, of course, but it is so mad that it's actually funny,
Well,
that's insane.
it is and it isn't, because that I mean, and this is the thing, I am genuinely thinking. So I need to sort of message, but I am genuinely thinking about coming off Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is another story these days, isn't it?
It is now that Elon Musk has bought it, and it seems to be using it as a play toy for him to promote the Republican Party in the US.
Oh, it makes me sick.
There are other social media platforms, and I'm going to investigate. I think it's called Mastodon. Is the one that a lot of people are going on to, because it's made by, I think it's created by one of the original people behind Twitter, and there's no one single owner of it. Anyway, I just sort of mentioned that in passing. I mean, I'm not, it's not going to happen immediately, but I do.
It's a bit confusing though, isn't it? You have to choose a server and stuff. I don't know what to choose.
Yeah, although apparently, ultimately, you end up going on all of the different servers. But I think a lot of people, if you could choose the social server, that kind of gets you across different things, I think.
Okay.
Like I said, I have to investigate more. So it's not going to happen immediately, but I'm feeling more and more uncomfortable with what's happening with Twitter. And I'm not sure that I will be on there long term, but as and when I change that's fine. I'll let you all know.
Yes, please.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of promoting stuff, certainly in the short term, we'll carry on doing what we're doing. So yes, so it's I hope it is from a sponsor and from a TV thing. I hope it's an absolute disaster, this World Cup. But I do know some people who were going.
Interesting.
My friend, my friend's husband is, he's going, and a couple of friends and what have you. And I said to her, "Really, you're going to Qatar?" And she went, "Not my idea." She said they were going to go to Dubai, and then because he's like a big England fan, and they were going to try and go in from Dubai to the different games in Qatar that had managed to get things. Anyway, I don't know. I think they found some deal or something or other, and they're doing massive deals to try and get people to go to Qatar.
They are.
What's happening to try and persuade people to actually come to the country, because I don't think a lot of people have chosen to do that. So I think they are, they're doing some ridiculous deals to entice people.
They're paying people to come, aren't they?
They are actually, and
that's ridiculous.
I know a bunch of people are going because I'm one of the original people from the fan movement, FIFA fan movement. So there is a group. I could have applied. I wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah. I just, I'm not gonna, why would, as a woman, there's no reason I want to be there. So even if I could afford to go, right? But there's a bunch of, so our, at least in America, the supporters group for the country is the American Outlaws. Each country has their own group, and there's chapters all over. And I know people that are very heavily involved in that. They were being offered free everything because they're trying to get people to go. And there was a bunch of talk, if you go, that's wrong, and there was a lot of backlash because we as a country think it's wrong to even go. So there's a lot of people that are basically harassing other people on social media if they actually take this opportunity to go. And I actually don't have a problem with people. I mean, I don't want people to get harassed to the point that they're being death threats or anything, but I don't mind a little pressure telling people this is not okay. Free trip to, there's so much more behind this. And then of course I also know that I know people that are going and they're actually really excited, and I've had some of the fan movement, are you coming to Doha? And I'm just like, nope, sorry, can't make it. But I don't want to go. I just I have no desire, and I've kind of taken the stance of, so in America after Vietnam, the troops that came back got spit on and treated really horribly. Yeah. My dad was one of those people, and so when we had the wars in the 90s with the Gulf Wars is what we called it. I don't know what you guys called it. it
Yeah,
it
no,
was
so
changed.
the Gulf Wars as well.
Okay, so what changed was we might not support the war, but we support our troops. So I'm like not supporting this World Cup or that country, but I'm supporting our my
Yeah.
players because and when I say players, not just the United States, my Liverpool players as well. So I am going to limit what I'm seeing. I'm not going to buy any merchandise. I'm not going to spend any
No.
money on that. But I'm going to support our boys, and
Yeah.
that's as far
And
as it
I get
goes.
that. And I've got no issue with that. And and it's a personal choice. People want to go, they want to go.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I've got no interest in going there to
me either.
put my hard-earned money or give any legitimacy to this particular World Cup. Now, 2026, however, because one of my sporting bucket lists, I think we mentioned, is I want to go to a World Cup. So
Yeah.
to me, USA, Canada, and Mexico is a brilliant opportunity for me
Yay!
because
Yeah,
so two
that's
of the four
different.
speak English, which I don't have a second language. Unlike Randi, who can speak Norwegian and English and possibly something else as well. I've got
Right?
a
Me either.
I've got a smattering of words in about 6 different European languages. I love the idea of because I mean I may get there between now and then, but I've never been to Canada properly, and I've only ever been to a border town, when I was in Arizona or California. I can't even remember which one, so I can't even say I've properly been to Mexico. And obviously I've been to, so I do quite like the idea of a trip around the World Cup in 2026.
Oh, that'd be good.
Well, let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a friend that's from Mexico, My stepbrother's wife, she's from Mexico. So she's inviting me there all the time. And I go, yeah, maybe that would be a good time.
Randy, this sounds like the start of a trip, may I
It
say.
does.
Look at that. Oh my gosh.
We need to come back to this. Right.
Yes.
So we're coming to the end of this pod, ladies. So we went off on a slight tangent. Right. Any other business? Randi, let me start with you.
Well, it has to be. Well, first of all, of course, let's make sure that all the players not going away somewhere have a good time together and
Yes.
get back to winning ways in between themselves. And of course, then it is the transfer market coming up again that I think we absolutely need to do some smart moves. But what's going to happen, I don't know. But that's what I'm sort of looking forward to before it all goes shebang again and we're back.
Yep. No, I agree. I would also just mention Arthur Mello. Is he the next Ben Davis? Is he just is he a figment of our imagination?
Oh
I
my
know
God,
he
I
got
forgot about him.
I know
he's injured.
he got injured. He got a thigh, but he was doing rehab. Do we think we'll ever see him before he goes back to Juventus or wherever the hell we got him from?
Because I can't remember, was it like half a year or a year on loan? Because if it is half a year, we might not be able to see him.
No, it was a year's loan.
Okay.
I'm sure it was a full season loan. But I agree with you. I think January could become interesting. Okay, yeah, and I agree with you. So whilst I know Salah's disappointed, gutted that Egypt isn't there,
Yes.
he at least gets a month off. I know we'll be going to Dubai and everything, but I'm delighted for him, for people like Robertson, for oh God, Thiago and people like that to have some time. Obviously we've got Diaz and Jota, in rehab and one thing and another. So fingers crossed, when we do get back and reconvene, we haven't had any serious injuries from any of our players who did get picked, and actually the ones who remain here are in, healthy and raring to go. Amy Kate, any other business?
So I have two things. I guess I just want to say, what, with the rumors of the club being put up for sale, I'm just wondering how that's going to go. I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day long, so there's no point. But I mean, I'm under the impression that it's being spun to that they're up for sale because they did this, but it's really what they've always been saying, that they're always up for investors. And I'm hoping that's the case, because I really think, even though FSG have made a few mistakes, and big mistakes, mind you, I think they've really done really good for Liverpool. And I'm not keen on having.
I think they've been very decent owners.
Yeah, I do too.
I think they've been very decent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an FSG out person, basically, and it's not because they're American. But it is a bonus in the fact of what they've done, and all the opportunities that we've seen. I really don't want it to go to an oil owner, or some prince that in the Middle East, or big China owner. So I'm really nervous to see how all that pans out. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was, you know me, I'm always supporting the women. So if you don't know, and this is actually a really fun show to watch, like a half an hour, and it's on YouTube, but LFC Women have a show. It's been on for about a year and a half, and they get together and they talk about all different things, and it's the players that sit down and talk, and it's a really cool, fun thing, and you get to kind of know the LFC women, and so I just kind of wanted to put that out there, and check it out. It's free on YouTube. So it's really cool.
Cool. Well, when we put this out, if you send a link, we can do that when we promote this pod as well. We can say, if you're interested in the women, you can watch them on YouTube.
Yeah, they're actually on the LFC YouTube channel with all the other LFC stuff, so you don't even have to go,
cool.
Which is great, and I'm glad they did that they put it together, so it's like not have to go to the women's thing. It's a women's page. It is all with everything, so it's on the LFC channel.
That's good.
Well, just shows that I've not been consuming a huge amount on the LFC channel recently. So. Okay, no, that's right. And in terms of the club being up for sale, I mean I don't think what they've said is any different than what they've said before. I guess the question is the intent behind it. How much more serious are they? Because we've had other, we know we've got LeBron James, we know we've got the guy who was sort of behind Moneyball, and there's various different people who've taken a share in different things. But the good news, I suppose, from the point of view, is that China has banned any of its things sort of taking like an external stake in things like that. So it wouldn't be Chinese ownership, I'm pretty sure. So that which is a small mercy. But in terms of what they bought the club for versus what Liverpool and everything is worth now, I mean, we're talking, if Chelsea sold for, bearing in mind there was a proportion of money put aside for kind of debt and player thing. So basically Chelsea sold for just under, it's like 2.8 billion, right? If Chelsea's worth 2.8 billion, we've got to be worth, 3.5 to 4.
Yeah, and I think I saw that it was estimated about 4 billion. I think I saw that somewhere. Actually, multiple places I saw that. I didn't dig into it to see how they came up with that or anything like that. But great. But
think about the ethos of the club, the city, the manager as well as they're Liverpool as a city and the bulk of its supporters, I would say, have quite left-leaning principles. I wouldn't hesitate to use the S word, but and I do think that it would sit very uncomfortably with us to be funded by a petro state. Now, every supporter of every team wants us to have the money to go out and buy whoever we want, whenever we want, and not adhere to financial fair play. But actually, I'm not saying financial fair play is fit for purpose, but you can't have, it's already too skewed towards, the Man Cities and, up and coming Newcastle and the PSGs. Actually, you need to have some controls in place. So, I'm not sure there is anybody, sitting around with a spare 4 billion in their pocket, but I would be I'd be interested to see who was interested, because this next, and I don't know whether it means that FSG set fully away or they just dilute their percentage ownership and become a minority stakeholder rather, because I'm not sure that they would divest their whole thing, because Liverpool FC will still make them money, and ultimately they're in the business of making money, but time will tell. But that it will be the most important decision if they are serious about divesting their whole ownership of it, in terms of us keeping the manager that we've got, because I don't think it would sit comfortably with him if we've talked about Qatar, we've talked about Saudi Arabia. If it was, I don't know, Kuwait, or do you know what I mean? Some Kuwaiti oil sheikh, or some Kazakhstan multi-billionaire or something. I don't think it would sit particularly comfortably, and I think we ignore that at our peril.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, you have a good point. You have a good point.
Completely follow you on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. At first I really felt like, oh God, here we go again. And what happens is something gets leaked and then everybody else wants to be a part of it. So it just gets worse and it becomes this big shit show. And so it's gotten really frustrating, because of all of it. At least me personally, I'm like, enough already. But
yeah,
I am concerned at the same time. I really thought that they were dedicated. They've bought stakes in, and I don't know to what degree, but they've bought Pittsburgh Penguins. They've bought, they've Liverpool. Then is it Redbird? Do I have that right? That's where LeBron kicks in.
Investments or something. Yes.
Yeah, and so they're the ones with, is it AC Milan? I'm sorry, I might be a little off here, but there's a connection there through Redbird, and I'm rumors is that supposedly, and because I don't pay attention to this might not actually be a rumor, that Las Vegas is going to get a basketball team, an expansion team, or possibly somebody's relocating and they're possibly looking at that. But I don't even know if that's true, but I just don't see them wanting to get out of such a lucrative thing for them. And it just doesn't make sense. And Boston Red Sox and Liverpool are very similar.
They are very similar
in the passion of what it means to the city, what it means to the people. And that was one of the reasons I was really excited that they were going to come on, especially after the horrible, Americans before that they got what Liverpool was about. For the most part, again, they're American businessmen, and it's a totally different animal here. But I don't, and maybe I'm gonna have to eat my words, but I don't think that that's their goal, is to get out completely. And I hope that's not the case. I hope they're just really trying to, diversify so they can be they see the potential in other sports, and they need to, maybe relinquish a little bit in all the different places so that they can add one more. And that's where I'm going with it. Now, I could be so off base here, but at least that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, only time is going to tell, but it's
exactly.
It's interesting times. Let's say that.
That's a true statement.
Never a dull moment with the LFC.
No, gosh.
Yes.
We don't make things easy, do we?
No,
that's the Liverpool way.
That's the Liverpool way, and that seems like a perfect way to end this pod.
Right?
That's the Liverpool way. So thank you both very much for your contributions and insight on this latest pod. We've loved talking about so many different things in here. thank you, listeners, for bearing with us. Hopefully you're pleased that you're getting another one in quite quick succession, and we'll certainly be looking to do our next one probably in early January when we're back in the Premier League, and we can also reflect on our upcoming game in December against Man City in the League Cup. So no doubt we'll talk to you then. So enjoy the World Cup if you're watching. If you're celebrating Christmas or any of the other festivals over that period, then we hope you enjoy those. Stay happy and healthy, and we shall talk to you again very soon. Thanks, and bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.